Look at you guys.
The babies. Look at Nacho.
Just a typical
What
Thursday.
a ham.
Hi.
Do you guys hear her purring? My kittens. I have 2 kittens and I love them.
And your monster.
And my monster. I don't want to get up. She's like, let me make your job easier, Mom. Get back. Should I go film my breaded chicken recipe? Should I? Still purring. Is that a yes? Don't want to. I want to sit on the couch and snuggle you. What's up, YouTube? So today I'm finally filming my long requested recipe for my breaded chicken. I have posted this on Instagram. No, I think I've just posted it on Snapchat. I've posted it on Snapchat multiple times and I've described my recipe in YouTube videos, but I've never actually shown it. And you guys have requested over and over and over and over that I actually show what I do to make my breaded chicken and also how I track it for those of you who track macros. So that's what we're gonna do today. Here's my oven. I turned the temperature to 450 degrees. I like it super duper hot. I don't think normally bake chicken at such a high temperature, but I like to bake it that high because it makes the breading really like crispy in my opinion. So that's why I do it that way. Okay, so in terms of food, oh, that is not straight at all. Okay, so in terms, this is still not straight. Okay, so in terms of food needed for this, obviously you need chicken. I always get chicken tenderloins, which look like this. They're a super low fat cut of chicken, but they're boneless, skinless, make your job easy for yourself. And I like these because they're already kind of like cut into the portion size that I would need, as opposed to if you got like full on chicken breasts, then you'd have to kind of like cut them up and make them like more portion size, whatever. What am I saying? I don't know. Next, you'll need shake and bake or panko or breadcrumbs or whatever. I've tried several different like breadcrumb type products, and this is what I keep going back to, is this shake and bake extra crispy. It is super, super tasty and it's seasoned, so it like has a nice flavor, but I am extra and I like to add flavor to the flavor. So one thing that I'm obsessed with, I don't even know how I found this. That's my stove. I don't even know how I found this seasoning, but maybe somebody on Snapchat told me about it, but it's a rotisserie seasoning from McCormick. I'm sure you can find it at pretty much any grocery store. But I think the main seasonings in here are just salt, onion, paprika, garlic, stuff like that. So I think that that's really all this is. But it's so good and it's a little spicy, and so I like to add it to my breaded chicken and it tastes amazing. The last thing you'll need is an egg. Just 1 egg, usually. Unless you're making like a lot of chicken, then you might need 2. But pretty much I have found that 1 egg will cut it. Why am I showing you what an egg looks? You know what an egg looks like. Let's get this show on the road. Alright, so first you crack your egg in the bowl. Don't do it on camera because then it's really messy like this. That was literally a hot mess. This is disgusting. So then you add a little pepper to the egg, a little salt. Here's my Rachel Ray pink Himalayan sea salt type situation. Just putting that in there. Should probably zoom out and let you guys see what I'm doing on here. There we go. Now you can't see my face. That's not any good. Now you're so far away, I feel like I have to yell. Can't win. Can't win. Anyway, we have egg cracked in here. Salt and pepper. Whisk it together. We're using the egg to dip the chicken in, to make the chicken have something on it for the breading to, what? We're dipping the chicken into the egg so that it has something on it to make the breadcrumbs stick to the chicken. There we go. Gross. I just spattered egg on the floor. Alright, so this step is not necessary if you're not a person who tracks calories and or macros. Why am I using my fingernail? But currently I am tracking macros. Before I just dump my chicken into the egg, I like to weigh out each piece of chicken, so I kind of have a general idea of how much they weigh. Now, you can get as like specific about this as you want. For me, I tend to weigh each individual chicken tenderloin, and as long as they're within a ½ pound of each other, then I just like find the average weight, and then when I go to track this chicken later in the week, I just enter in like the average weight of each of these. Otherwise, you're gonna have like one piece of chicken that's 2 ounces, one that's like 2¼ ounces, one that's 2½ ounces and stuff like that. So sometimes I'll get a pack where like some are 2 ounces and some are 3 ounces. That can be kind of a big difference if you're like eating 2 or 3 pieces of chicken at a time, because then you might be logging 9 ounces of chicken, but you're only actually eating 6, which is like, that's a significant enough difference. So if that's the case, if some are like closer to 2 ounces and some are closer to 3 ounces, then I'll just keep in mind which ones are 2 and which ones are 3, and I'll kind of like cook them on opposite sides of the pan. And then at the end, when they're all baked, I'll put them in 2 different like containers in my fridge, one marked 2 ounces and one marked 3 ounces. But I don't get real crazy. I don't weigh them in grams. I generally just take the average weight of each one and figure out that like by the end of the week, it all will average out in terms of calories and stuff. It doesn't have to be that deep in my opinion. All right, so I'm weighing these chicken tenderloins out, and the majority of them are about 2.5 ounces. Give or take like a quarter or an eighth of an ounce. That, like I said, I don't think it's worth your trouble of knowing exactly how many ounces are in each chicken tenderloin. It ain't that deep, even if you're tracking macros pretty strictly. I think it all just balances out at the end of the week, so don't drive yourself crazy with it. All right, so like I said, the average of these chicken tenderloins is 2.5 ounces, except for a few of them. A few of them are like a solid 3, so I'm gonna keep those to the side. But yeah, so the ones that I'm gonna bake today are gonna be the ones that are 2.5 ounces. So as I'm logging this chicken into MyFitnessPal during the week, I will log 2.5 ounces of chicken tenderloin for every piece of chicken that I eat. Does that make sense? And that will be accurate enough for like macro tracking purposes. I promise, don't get weird. So when you're tracking a food item like this, it has like multiple components that you have to track every time you eat this. Just remember to track every ingredient in the meal. So like I said, if I were to eat a piece of this chicken, I would track 2.5 ounces of chicken in MyFitnessPal or whatever food tracking app that you use or whatever. I would also track the egg. Even though we're just dipping the chicken in the egg just like for a second and just getting a little bit of egg on it, I would still track the egg because you are eating it and it does count as calories. But I literally, like, one large egg coats at least 7 or 8 pieces of chicken. So when I log the egg into MyFitnessPal, I only log 1/8 of an egg, which is like not even 10 calories. But I just do it for the sake of consistency. And you also will want to track the shake and bake that you use. Now I do recommend that when you make this recipe, measure out how much shake and bake you use for the total recipe. So say you use like 7 servings for your whole recipe, I would take the 7 servings and divide it by however many pieces of chicken that you make, and then track that for each piece of chicken. So what I have found in my experience when I use this stuff is that I use about 3/4 of a serving per piece of chicken. So in total, when I eat 1 piece of this baked breaded chicken, I track 2.5 ounces of chicken, 1/8 of an egg, and 3/4 of a serving of shake and bake. And that's just for 1 piece. So then obviously if I have 2 pieces of chicken or 3 pieces of chicken, I double all of those amounts or I triple them. Are you following me? Perfect. All right, we have all of our chickens breaded and ready to go into the oven. Really that simple. You just weigh the chicken and then you dip it in egg and then you coat it in breadcrumbs of some sort and then you pop it in the oven. I have the oven set at 450 degrees. Like I said, I'm gonna pop these in the oven for 15 minutes. I think that's how much I put them in there for. Keep an eye on it though, because everyone's oven's a little bit different. So I would say like try 10 minutes and then check on them. I like them to be a little bit browned over, but I also have a meat thermometer that checks like the internal temperature to make sure it's 165 degrees. So I do recommend doing that. I have like a terrible irrational fear of food poisoning. Every time I make chicken, I'm so scared it's gonna happen to me. So here we go. Now we wait for our chickens. Hi baby, look at her. You look funny. I love you.
Just chilling.
I want to kiss your mustache. Unrelated to this video subject, but look how giant this spaghetti squash is. Look at, I have a big head, just so you know. A really big head. This is the size of my head. This is the size of my head with my hair teased a little bit. So my head is even bigger. I did not choose this spaghetti squash. Matt picked this out today. I said, hey, can you go to the grocery store and get a spaghetti squash for me? And he said, sure. And he brings it home and he's like, this thing costs $6. And I'm like, yeah, because it's the size of a pumpkin. But yes, while I have that in the oven, I'm also gonna throw this in the oven. Technically, this should probably be cooked at a lower temperature. So I might wait until the chicken is like towards the end of cooking and then lower the oven temperature to like 375 because I don't want this to like burn or crisp on the outside. But fun fact for those of you who struggle to cook spaghetti squash, because technically you're supposed to like cut it down the middle before you cook it. Maybe that's not the technical way or typical way, maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I've always done it, is to cut it down the middle, set it in a giant glass casserole dish full of water. Not full of water, like an inch of water. You know what I'm saying. But I have found out that you can just cook it whole like this and poke a bunch of holes in it with like a knife or a fork, and you have to cook it for like a long time, like an hour and a half, because like to cook through this solid thing. And this one will probably take like 2 freaking hours because Mr. Hoyle got me a pumpkin. But yes, you can cook this whole, which makes it easier, because if you've ever tried to saw down the middle of one of these, you could kill yourself. It's a hazard. I'm not good with knives. So we're gonna cook this thing whole. You just poke it, you just throw it in a glass dish, and you just throw it in your oven, and then that's good. Then after it's done cooking for an hour and a half or so, then it's really soft and you can cut through it real easy. Bada bing, bada boom, you're done.
Look at it.
What? Well, I tried to stab it with a fork, but this thing is literally the size of a planet, so this wasn't even penetrating. So yeah.
So here, let's do this. So she stabs it and then puts her hand right here. Let's look at close up. Look at it. That's the blade, and her hand's right there.
And you just take it out. Easy peasy.
We gotta end this.
Don't try this at home, kids. All right, so the chicken, I just pulled it out of the oven. The magic number for it to look the way that it looks now and be cooked and be crispy was 17 minutes. And it's done. And it looks delicious. So if you are like me and you're on a relatively higher protein diet, so like 80 grams of protein a day or more or whatever, I highly recommend this recipe. If you're also anything like me, you are freaking sick of chicken. I'm so sick of chicken. I feel like I've tried it every other way in the world. I'm just sick of chicken. But it's such a nice way to get your protein in, so baking it like this makes it like chicken nuggets. So it's like you're 5 again. Who doesn't want that? Definitely try this recipe out if you are looking for new ways to make chicken edible. All right, we pulled this squash out of the oven after like an hour and a half. And it's soft, so I'm just gonna stab it and cut it. It's cutting super easy. The knife just slides through there, which is a lot easier than if you try and cut this thing in half while it is raw, or whatever you want to call it. Oh yeah, look at that. So that's what the inside of a spaghetti squash looks like. You use a spoon or something to get out the seeds in the middle, and then the rest is stuff you can eat. All right, we took that and turned it into that. I have 2 like giant meal prep container full of spaghetti squash. If you are not familiar with spaghetti squash, it tastes like every other squash on planet Earth, but it has a neat texture. Neat, can I say the squash has a neat texture? I don't know. People will use spaghetti squash instead of noodles in like some pasta dishes, and I usually just like mine with either some pasta sauce or some butter and like some cheese, some veggies, maybe some meat. Just kind of depends, but I really love spaghetti squash, and I don't think it's in season, and that's why I think it's kind of expensive right now and hard to find. But I really, really like it, so. And it's really filling, it's really filling. So yep, that's gonna wrap up today's vlog, just cause I'm tired of vlogging. Matt and I are gonna go for a walk because we feel like walking. I'm like not doing too good on the explanation front right now. I don't know. All right, so thank you for watching this video. I hope that you liked it. I hope that you decide to make some breaded chicken. And I hope that you choose to like this video. And I hope that you choose to subscribe to this video. No, subscribe to me as a person on YouTube. Yeah. All right. See you guys.